Okay, Unit 3, Lecture 1, the redo. I've got some graphics for you. Hopefully they help us out a little bit. We're talking about the constitutional era. Immediately following the American Revolution, our victory in the Revolution, we're going to make two attempts to establish a Republican form of government. And for our purposes, we're going to just say a Republican form of government is a representative democracy. All right, that works for us. It covers it well. All right. Up to this point, while we're fighting the revolution, Americans are held together by a common need, right? We're fighting the British. Nobody can make it alone. That fear, that necessity keeps us together, makes us work okay together. All right. We get along while we have to. After we get our independence, the colonies are going to guard their independence and their borders and their what they perceive their needs are very jealously. They don't work well together at all anymore. And this is going to shine through in our first form of government. All right. One of the huge problems they have is after the revolution, how do we form a government that's strong enough to maintain order, to protect our rights, yet still how can we avoid then the tyranny and the absolute authority that we had with the king? All right. So we're trying to stay away from that, but still form a government strong enough to take care of our needs. Right, so our first government that we form, our first constitution, our first government, I want you to remember this, government first, Articles of Confederation. Okay, right up here, see it? Right, there it is over there, Articles of Confederation. That's our first form of national government. All right, if you remember, the Articles were adopted by the Second Continental Congress in 1777. It isn't ratified. They aren't ratified by the states until 1781. Okay, so it takes 4 years to convince the states of the need for the Articles and that they can serve our purposes. All right? So when we look at the Articles, it's going to really show the distrust many of our founders had in that central government, in a powerful central government. And the results of this is going to leave us with a government where the states possess most of the power. And it could be argued they act, for the most part, as independent nations, very loosely tied together. All right? Not much of a confederation of states at all. All right, I want you to look through these. I want you to be aware of these. I'll try and straighten them out for you. Okay? And remember some of the weaknesses. The big ones we're going to have to remember, too, are Congress has no power to tax and no power to control interstate trade. Those are hugely important, all right? Because no matter what your other powers are, if you don't have money, you can't really carry them out, all right? So the power to tax is hugely important. All right, some other things to keep in mind. Congress is the only branch of government. So it's a legislative branch. It can make laws. But there's no judicial branch to interpret the law, no executive branch to enforce the law and make things work well. All right, so the Congress's lawmaking powers are also extremely limited. All right, it can ask for money from states, but it's at their mercy, no power to tax. All right, there's also no common currency. There's 13 different currencies or monies in the states now. So it's almost impossible, or is impossible, to have a national economy when you have that type of difference among the states. All right, it's very hard to do business even between the states, and the states then are going to compete as individuals for foreign trade. We'll see that with tariff wars later on. All right, and each state gets one vote in Congress, no matter how large it is. All right, so Rhode Island has 2.5 people. They get the same amount of say in Congress as Virginia, who has millions of people. All right, so this isn't going to work well. It's a very weak government, and we'll see it doesn't do much to bring us together. Actually, it's not a unifying force at all. All right, the years following this revolution are economically difficult for everybody. The government can't raise money to pay its bills. We've been in debt from day one. All right, that's from the war. Debts to the soldiers who have fought that war. All right. Economic competition between states, I said, leads to tariff wars. Tariffs are taxes on imports. So the states aren't actually shooting at each other, but they're competing for international business. All right, we're going to see business failures, farm foreclosures, general state of economic depression. So we had defeated the British, but in our fear of a strong government had created one so weak, it promoted disunity and economic chaos. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I'll pick this lecture up again in the next one.